we shot all of the engagement stuff on the first day of shooting. So we shot the first, segment of the pilot when we're all at the engagement party. And then we shot the last scene of the entire season on our first day. So I knew that was coming, which made it even more painful knowing that that's where it was going.
Congratulations on the show. It's so good.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's so fantastic. It's so well written, it's so well acted. And there are moments with you and Jackson that remind me of Marriage Story of Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver.
Wow.
It's so raw and volatile, but it's so textured. It's really great stuff.
That makes me so happy. That's such a huge compliment. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. So listen, the interview's going to air or be printed after the finale, so we can talk full spoilers.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and there's lots to unpack. So I wanted to start with a lot. So I wanted to start with kind of a weird question that's kind of been bugging me since Lucy wrote the letter about Drew, which is Drew's last name is Wrigley, but everybody calls his brother Wrigley, including Drew. Is his name Wrigley? Help me out here.
No, they just call him. They call him Wrigley because of his last name. I forget what his actual first name. Oh, I don't know why I want to say Michael.
Okay, I don't think it's ever said in the show.
I don't think it's ever said. Yeah, but he's Wrigley. So that's funny that it seems like it's Wrigley, double Wrigley.
Right, because I remember, when they did the close up on the letter and said Drew Wrigley, I was like, what?
That is so funny. No, he definitely has first name, but I really want to say Michael, but I have to ask Megan. But he does have.
Great. Okay, that's a scoop. So the finale was awesome. It was directed by Robin Wright, who is an amazing director as well as an actor. What's it like working with her?
It was so amazing. I've admired her so much as an actress, and it was so cool to have her direct, and she understood these characters so well and had such great, smart things to say about it. And it was amazing. It was such a good ending to the season.
So I'd love to get into the nitty gritty about Lucy's relationship with Steven. I love the interesting turn in their power dynamic that happened midway through when she started protecting him and his secret. Can you talk a little bit about how you and Jackson played that dynamic throughout the season and the way they shifted?
Yeah, it was, so much of that is written thanks to Megan. She was so good at writing the power shifts and the dynamic and how it changes. And really it starts in episode 6 when he shares the big secret with her. And I think she sees it as, oh my gosh, this guy is now vulnerable with me and is sharing with me, and it really locks them in together. And I also think she sees it as a thing to hold over him. And I don't know if she's conscious about that yet, but she really starts to use it against him. And Lucy really just spirals out. And in the second half of the season, she kind of starts to become him. And it's really painful to watch. And I loved the shifts in dynamic and in talking, in the intimacy, in the friendships. It's like Lucy really is in her power. And I think she thinks she's in control, but she's really not.
As you said, I think she really does feel like she starts to enjoy it, even if she's not conscious of it.
Totally. She thinks she's in control of him out of being so out of control for so long.
And I also feel like, actually, I almost feel like the decision came for her a little bit even earlier when she had that talk with Steven, and she was like, I'm not a fucking idiot.
Right.
And that was kind of the start of it for me, I thought.
Yeah. And I was so happy when Lucy had that moment, because it's like, it shows that she is aware of what's going on, and she knows that he's not treating her well, but she's giving it like she's not going to end it. She's too obsessed with this guy, but she just stands her ground for a second when the answer is to leave him. But That's Lucy's version for right now.
Yeah. And then the show would be over, and we can't have that.
Exactly. There'd be no show.
There's 7 more years to go of this relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Wrigley had Wrigley, and Evan, like their friends see some of the stuff very clearly. And Wrigley had a really interesting insight when he pointed out that it seems like Stephen is scared of Lucy, like especially towards the end, and he's always worried about hurting her feelings. Like, do you think that was the case? And like, what's your take on that?
I think definitely. I think Lucy is holding this secret and could ruin his life if she wanted to. And I think Stephen is probably terrified that at any moment, at any move, she could expose him. And so I think he starts to, walk on eggshells, and it's only fueling the fire for Lucy. Lucy's only thinking that they're getting more serious because of it, but really he's just terrified and protecting himself.
Now, if it were you, would you go to India or stay for the summer and hang out with Stephen?
I would go to India. I'd go anywhere, but that's seeing it from outside. If I was in that situation, who knows what I would do? That's what's so scary about it. It's like when you're in that situation, it's so hard to see the red flags. You see all of them once you're out of it. It's so much easier, but it's just Lucy is blinded to it. She's blinded to all of and she's justifying his actions, and because she thinks she's in love with him.
Now, Bree also in the finale said another really interesting pointed thing when she was talking about how whoever wrote the letter is a psychopath. And, and Lucy was like, yeah. But do you think Lucy is a psychopath? You play her, you're in her head.
I don't. I think she's, like you said, she's completely out of control, and she's completely lost herself. And I think, unfortunately, it's very common to be in that situation. And especially your first time being in love and enamored with someone and completely obsessed, you lose control of yourself because you don't know who you are yet. And Lucy has no idea who she is. And she's grasping and she's looking for this person to kind of help her figure it out. And he's not. And it makes her do crazy things. Love makes you do crazy, crazy things that you wouldn't do in any other relationship, in any other friendship or with family. Like it can really mess with you if you don't know who you are and what you need and what you want.
On the flip side of that, do you think Stephen is a psychopath?
That's more likely. But also he's had so much trauma in his life, and he comes from a really dysfunctional family where his mom treats him like that. And so much of the show is both of those characters projecting their trauma on each other. And Stephen is his actions are a way for him to protect himself because he feels so unsafe in his home environment. So he doesn't really, let his guard down.
How does Jackson kind of approach Stephen? Like, how does he kind of rationalize or justify the terrible things he does?
Yeah. I mean, Jackson is so amazing. And that part is so hard for an actor to be, written as this villain, but to still have people have empathy for him. And I thought he did such a good job at that of humanizing this terrible person. And you really empathize with him when he goes home and you see his family dynamic, and you kind of completely understand him more and why he does what he does. And it just makes sense a little bit. And he did such a good job at balancing that and also having genuine moments and having moments where he seems like he's listening and he's hearing her. And that's what she is completely drawn to.
A couple of big twists get dropped, like towards the end of the finale.
Yes.
One of them is that Evan and Lucy hooked up after Stephen left with Diana. What's interesting about that is, when you watch the wedding scenes again in 2015, you see the dynamic shift. Like you see things that you didn't notice before in terms of how they kind of relate to each other. I was under the impression watching the scenes at the end of the finale in the wedding that Lucy and Evan may have just kept this thing going somehow. Like, do you think that's the case?
We'll find out in the season 2, hopefully. But yeah, it's hard to know whether Lucy, I mean, I don't think Lucy had an interest in him. I think it was purely to get back at Steven, whether he knew or not, just knowing that she was capable of hurting him like he hurt her. So for them to continue it, if it became a thing, would just be so mean.
Right.
Bree is literally the purest of all the characters and the most genuine. And to do that to her is just so terrible. Which I think is why Lucy is overcompensating so much at the engagement party. She's like, I'm happy for you, right? Like she's really trying to make Bree think that she's happy for her and that she's supportive, and which is just so manipulative.
And then at the end, we find out Steven is engaged to Lydia, which is a big surprise. That really just came out of nowhere. Were you surprised when you read it? Did you know that was coming? Or
shocked? No, we shot all of the engagement stuff on the first day of shooting. So we shot the first, segment of the pilot when we're all at the engagement party. And then we shot the last scene of the entire season on our first day. So I knew that was coming, which made it even more painful knowing that that's where it was going. But I have that, those would also be things that would be filled in a season 2 of how they met, and there is kind of a moment in the last episode where Lucy calls Lydia and it's not as organic and Lydia's distracted. And so it seems like their friendship is kind of sizzling out, and, that's 8 years from then. So who knows what happens.
Is there going to be a season 2? Do you have any news on that?
I don't yet, but I'm impatiently waiting. I'm like, I really hope it happens. Same here.
This is, like I said, there's 7 more years to go. We've got to know what happens.
I know. So much time to fill.
So if season 2 does happen, what do you hope to explore about Lucy? Like what's in your
I hope she figures it out a little bit. I hope she does some self-reflection and at least starts to discover what she needs and what she wants. And I hope she mends things with her mom. And I hope she just starts to get on the right path. But Steven will always find a way to get in there. So she's gotta stay strong.
At the very least, I hope she goes to India and has a nice summer.
India. That's so true. I hope she goes to India.
Well, listen, this is amazing. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you so much. It's so great to see you again.
Yeah, you too. So good luck with everything. I hope you get season 2. And, I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.